Hey Raven, guess what?
Can it wait? I'm trying to hang up our new pride flag.
I got some news. We're going to be doing a live show at the Pittsburgh Cannabis Festival.
I know. We've been talking about it on the pod. Are you going to help me hang this flag? I'm struggling to get it even.
Well, we got some new information.
That's nice. Now, are you going to help me or not?
The event's going to be presented by Terrapin.
Wait, Terrapin? They got some really good strains. I love their lemon G. It's really good for those stressful days.
Yeah, and their Double Bear stuff's really good too. I don't think I could have dealt with the food industry without their Primal Punch cartridge to help anxiety.
Well, what else is going on the day of the event?
The event hopes to highlight all the utilities of cannabis, from medical use to industrial use of hemp, for things like plastics, paper, and even clothing, to bioremediation and sustainability. There are even educational presentations on the bud stage for things like using cannabis to help trauma from a biopsychological perspective, how some cannabis vapes are made from supercritical CO2 extraction, and veteran advocacy, to name a few.
That's really cool, especially the veteran ones, since me and a lot of my family enlisted in the military. But is it all going to be educational?
No, there's going to be some fun with the advocacy to help normalize cannabis. Some bands are going to be playing, such as Truth and Rights, a Pittsburgh local reggae band, Sierra Sellers and Clara Kent, two R&B soul artists, and Manny's going to open for Clara. There's also going to be a pop-up yoga class that people can join in on, guided by Yoga 6 from South Hills, as well as a midday meditation on the solar stage.
Wait, are there going to be tables? And what about food? Isn't this a festival?
Of course there's going to be tables and food trucks. There's going to be a wide range of food trucks to satisfy all of your cravings. Tacos, Korean food, ice cream, and so much more. Plus live glass blowing, different CBD boutiques, and glass shops selling CBD bath bombs, edibles, lotions, oils, vapes, rolling papers, pipes, you name it. Even Curated Flame, the dope Pittsburgh glass shop, is the official cone sponsor, and we'll have some pre-rolls for the first 50 people to show up to the event.
The glass blowing sounds really cool. Do you think they'll make something for me?
Of course, who wouldn't want to see a one-of-a-kind piece get made right in front of them?
I have some friends that would love to volunteer. How could they do it?
Very easily. All they have to do is email the event planners at info@pittsburghcannabisfest.com. It's a great way to build a space for the Pittsburgh cannabis community.
Well, when and where is it so I can make sure I have it in my phone?
It's August 14th from noon to 5 p.m. at the Allegheny Commons Park North Side.
Awesome. Now, if you would, love, help me put this flag up. I can't feel my arms anymore.
This is Smoking Out the Closet. Now, here are your hosts, Alex and Rayven Greer.
Hi, my name is Raven. I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Alex. I use they, them pronouns.
And welcome back to another episode of
Smoking Out the Closet.
How's it going today, honey?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm very, very high.
Yeah, I feel that.
Do you want to talk about what we're smoking on?
Yeah, sure. Something new for us both.
So it is the Stoke from Perea. It is at a 26.019% THCA, 0.172% THC. It's really hard to read this, so I will correct it in the review.
Their labels
frame.
are horrible.
It looks like it was just running out of ink.
Yeah, all of them look like that. All the ones in my store anyway look like that. It's nuts.
Looks like the highest terpene is myrcene at 0.829, followed by caryophyllene at 0.49, and then limonene at 0.466%.
I really like that. It's a nice, I feel it relaxing my muscles and stuff, and also I feel kind of sleepy, but not very sleepy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, one of my coworkers at work basically describes everything on a timeline for him.
Okay.
So this would probably be really good, if you work a 9 to 5, a 6 o'clock strain, you coming home just kind of relaxing and chilling,
yeah,
kind of thing. Maybe an 8 o'clock in higher doses.
I feel like definitely what we smoked before the episode is definitely an 8 o'clock and on. I feel like I can throw something on the television and go to sleep rather easily right now.
It's got 0.061% little.
Oh yeah, that's nice. This is nice. I was very, very surprised. This is another hockey puck weed.
Yeah.
I never know how to feel about those because Rhythm's glass hockey puck shape is kind of dry. Strains is weird to try to open. This one had two like void stickers on the side I cut with my thumbnails, and then you squeeze the sides and it pops open on the top. And there's actually a seal on the inside of the lid if you look at it.
Oh, that's
that
nice.
seals down onto the container, and this shit was sticky. Like it was sticking to my fingers to put it in the grinder, kind of sticky.
That's good weed.
And but it has a is it a Vibita pack?
Oh, the hydro pack?
Yeah, a hydro pack, the Vibita pack, whatever the hell you want to call them. It doesn't taste like the Vibita pack. I know that like my one coworker, he's like really adamant about people who put like hydrator packs in there because it's just like half-assing the cure. He's like super into plants. He can tell you literally everything about a fucking plant, like how it grows and stuff. It's great. It's awesome. But like I feel like it did its job and it's not soggy, like it's not damp, because you can either get like really crispy, crusty, you just touch it and the plant feels sad, right? Or you can get a nice, healthy, sticky, and I've never had anything with a Bavita pack and it have like too much moisture, if that makes sense. So it's honestly really nice. And I really wish that all the hockey pucks had like a hydrator pack. I'm not against a hydrator pack because it preserves those terps in there, and you can really like it really expresses well in this too. It's like very fruity too.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't expecting, but it's super pleasant.
What is, because I think what the really cool thing about Perea, and I don't know who owns Perea off the top of my head.
I can't think either.
The really cool thing of it is they actually write down the genetics on the container. And this is a sour tangy crossed. It is called the Stoke, and it is sour tangy crossed with white OG.
I've heard great things about both of those strains too. Like we sell a decent amount of both of them at my dispensary, and the sour tangy by Kind Tree, the sugar carts have sold really well. And then we had the white. It's like white 91 white OG X something. It's a G leaf that has been. I've seen on Reddit as being pretty decent, but like not a lot of people have bought it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, the parent plants of this are really nice. I give it a 4.
4?
Solid 4 out of 5.
I'm gonna give this a 4.20 E. Mostly just because it's not like a 4.5. I don't think it's rated that high. I've only given something a 4.8 once, and that was for a review for work, which I will do. I guess we should probably smoke it on the podcast and do a review on it, and I could just read my notes from that. Okay. But that was the only thing I've ever given a 4.8 so far.
Yeah, I have like, I want to say I have maybe 3, well, maybe 2 strains that are up there at like, this is the top shelf. This is gonna like. This is in the top of the running, and it's gonna be very hard to knock it out with anything else. Everything else I taste is great. But this is the stuff I'm going to lean on. Like, I know that this helps with this really specific thing for me. This profile helps with this really specific thing for me. And honestly, 2 of those 2 strains are literally very similar. One of which I think I posted about on my Twitter, if anybody's following me, that was the Citrus City OG.
Yeah.
That I got. I love that. So nice. I'm loving my PAX pod.
Before we go into the full topics, can I just kind of brag a little about what I did today?
Oh yeah, please do. It's so fucking cool.
I'm not going to go into full details because our show comes out before Smoke to Smoke.
Excuse me, that Kush cough, man.
But basically what ended up happening was Kid Ever had this kind of game show. It was like the Puff and Pass, and there was a couple of games and strainer things. So they pushed it to today and asked me like, hey, I know it's kind of last moment, but we're going to have the show today instead of yesterday around this time. Would you be interested? I'm home alone at work. You know, you're at work. I'm home alone. I did all my chores. So I was like, fuck it. Why not?
And I thought it would be cool. I was like, go ahead, enjoy yourself. I'd want to do it, but I'm at work. I can't really well do that.
But it was really cool. I'm not going to say who won or anything, but it was really cool because I won the first strainer things, which was the third game. And the person I went up against, I'm 95% sure their name was James. They were the second winner of Stranger Things. So we went head to head to defend our title.
That's so cool.
So I'm not going to say who won.
I'm so excited about the whole thing. I'm excited to hear it when it comes out. Shout out to Gadabra over there at Smoke to Smoke. We love you. Much love.
So going into the topics, do you have a Skittle this week?
Do I have a Skittle? Man, I don't know if I have a Skittle or not.
That's okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I have one, if it's okay to bring up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've been listening to this podcast, That's So Gay. I can't remember how I got told about it. If I found it on like Twitter, Reddit, one of my coworkers.
You tripped across it somehow.
I came across it somehow. And so the folks over at That's So Gay Media, who make the podcast That's So Gay, who are also local Pittsburgh podcasters.
Oh, hey.
Shout out to them because they've been really cool. And their first episode kind of brought me up to the topic I want to bring up because we kind of touched on it a little, but we didn't do a deep conversation on it. So I figured it should be time, 43 episodes in. We should probably talk about this.
We probably should have talked about this earlier. If I know what you're talking about, we definitely should. This should have been like 1 through 10. Here are the fucking basics, right? This should have been in that collection. Maybe what we could do, going back real quick, like thought. I think Spotify allows you to break your podcast up into sectioned episodes. So if like you have this section of like, say like somebody over at like cults, right? We're doing this section of a cult or this group of related cults. They could like section them off and do, that's what these episodes are. We could do that for basics with us. That would be cool.
That would be cool. But the problem is we go through Anchor.
Yeah,
and yes,
right.
While Anchor is made by Spotify, I don't know how to edit that.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it's all through Anchor itself.
Okay.
But I'll figure it out.
I just also want to make that note here because I was not going to remember after this episode was over. So, but yeah, if you want to, we'll talk about a nice little segue into your topic.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about coming out and kind of talk about like how to do it and like what it is to do it. So I figured we would first talk about how we came out. And it doesn't have to be to everybody. I just wanted like a little tidbit quick how you came out the first time.
I feel like what first we should do is we should define what is coming out, because there are going to be people who
You're right.
Live under a rock, live in the middle of nowhere, have no access to things. This is their only source of, like, they're only allowed an hour of internet every day or every week, and they listen to us, right?
And if you didn't hear our episode, The ABCs of Pride, this will be your quick definition of it because we do a little more of a deep dive, I think, on that episode.
Yeah. So what even is coming out? What is coming out for mean to you?
Basically, it's admitting, letting someone know or a group of people know, who you are as your identity. And typically that is for the LGBT community, but sometimes it can come in different ways or different things. But coming out is typically a queer term that basically like, hey, X person, I'm Y. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And usually it's so you could be more free about who you are around them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically like letting, like you said, it's letting someone else into, heck, it can even be yourself, like admitting to yourself or saying those words of, I am insert thing here. And so it's like, that's the big end like thing that everybody talks about, right? And whether it's safe to do so or not is kind of what we're going to get into, like how to tell if it is safe, how like different ways that we've came out, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to start with how you came out?
Oh man, which time?
Just your first.
First time. I originally came out. I was like 13 at the time, I think. Victoria, if she listens to this podcast, would correct me on it. I don't think she does though. But I came out to her at lunch, and I was like, "Hey, I think." I was like doing some self-discovery stuff, and I was like, okay, I finally admitted to myself, I think I like girls, right? And at the time, I identified as a cis woman. So I was like, all right, cool. I am a bisexual woman. I have admitted this to myself first. Mm-hmm. And then I go to my best friend, and I'm like, hey, I am I'm bisexual. And she goes, I know. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean, you know?
Ugh, I hate that.
And she's like, I don't know. I kind of knew. Thanks. I appreciate you telling me, but I just kind of knew. And I'm just like, I fucking hyped myself up, got all anxious. So I was like, can you like not really say much? And I was just kind of like, eh. And somehow it got out, and I got bullied about it a bit. And I was just kind of like, you know what, whatever. It's fucking here. I don't give a shit. People are gonna talk shit. I can talk shit. I will like literally the thing of like people in my school though was is like if you say anything back to them, they usually back up into a corner because I was a scary goth kid.
Mm-hmm.
So if I said shit to them, they just shrunk into a corner and were like, oh shit. Like so I mean my coming out was kind of rough. I never really came out to my parents. I never ever. But then they did find out. That's why I didn't want like people really like knowing because it was like I just want to tell my best friend and I want that to be it. So sorry, my volume control right now is not.
Yeah, I just felt like you were shouting and then you were like,
I get really animated.
I know, it's okay. And then you're like, oh shit.
I don't want to be too loud.
It's okay.
But yeah. So that was kind of my coming out story. I just came out to my best friend and it kind of like evolved from there and I pick and chose very carefully who I came out to and when.
As you should. So I first came out to, I think my friends, it was either my friends or my stepsister in high school. And I want to say it was my friends. But most of high school is a blur for me. Either just from bad memories or the fact that I had a head injury. So I've lost most of my memory of high school. So I'm going to say I came out to my friends first. I think it was my friend group. But the first one I remember and I can give details of is my parents. And for a few years, my stepsister knew I was at the time bi. Later when I went to college, figured out what pan was and was like, no, that difference does make a difference for me. So I am pan. But at the time my parents were like, is Rayven gay? And literally like dad was taking Bryce somewhere, my stepsister, and was taking her somewhere and she knew and she was like, no. And you keep asking, going with the stereotypes a little bit. You keep asking at the time him for fashion advice and like, coordinating your outfits a little bit. And Bryce had the perfect like instant response. And I'm so proud and happy that she did this. She was like, Dad, he makes comics. He's got to know how to draw people and how outfits work. And he goes, oh yeah, I guess you got a point. But like, just so you know, in case he needs to know, he's okay and he doesn't have to worry about anything. We're still gonna love him. And I was like, yeah, I think we know that, Dad. And eventually, basically, what I ended up doing was, it was the first year my parents went to Florida without me. It was the second time when they went to Disney World and Universal. And I messaged them a picture because at the same time, Penn State Pride was going on. So I had a picture frame and it said bi on it. And I held that and I sent a picture to my mom. I was like, hi, Mom, I'm bi. Hope you have a fun time in Florida. And she calls me and goes, fucking seriously, you chicken shit, you had to do this over the phone. We love you. We're fine. You're safe. Okay.
Aww.
You want something from Florida. And I'm like, what? And she was like, we kind of had an idea. We weren't sure. We didn't want to pressure you. But like, why didn't you say anything? And I'm like, honestly, I know for a while, I just didn't want to deal with the dad jokes. That was the biggest thing. I wasn't worried my parents were going to be upset.
It's just the dad jokes.
Me. Growing up, my mom was always like, I would come up to her and be like, Mom, you know what I don't get? She'd be like, a girlfriend. And now that I came out as bi, I'm like, oh, great. Now we're going to have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, came out as pan, a non-binary partner.
A joy friend.
And she gets mad at me sometimes. She goes, I can't do that anymore because you're married, and you're polyamorous and you have another partner. So I can't be like, I can't do that anymore. It was like, yes, but you also have a gay daughter.
Yeah, so there you go.
Do that to her?
Yeah.
Because she's 12?
Your mom has some very queer kids. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, my mom makes gay kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that in a way because I knew they were out of, and it was part of the tips I'm going to give here. I was in a safe location because I was away from them. I was basically, they were a few states away. I was at college. So I felt like even though I knew they were going to be accepting, I needed to make sure I was first and foremost safe. And had a good support team with me there. Which I guess we should probably just start on the tips. My first biggest tip is coming out to yourself. It's hard to admit it and it takes some time, but like even if your identity changes and like, you know, like mine did, like, oh, you find something that fits you better, or, you know, as time changes, you're like, you think you're this, but you end up being this, and doesn't invalidate any of those identities or those communities.
Because people change. Like, as humans, we are in constant flux. Like, how we express ourselves and our emotions and the way we feel and everything. And everything is just on a spectrum, so you can slide around as much as you want. Everything you identify as is valid.
Exactly, because like I used to identify as emo, and now I'm kind of just like punk emo, kind of like on that bridge, you know, which is totally fine. The next one I have is only come out to those you feel safe with.
Yes, that is absolute must.
This one's a multifaceted one. In areas or places that you feel safe doing it. So like a neutral space where like if you have to leave, it is safe for you to leave.
Yeah.
Now some people say don't do it in like very public areas, but like a quiet park. Some people do it in the kitchen where the door is really accessible. Like just make sure that you can't get trapped in if it's not going to be a unsafe environment for you.
Yeah.
And then come out to people who come out in areas where you feel safe. Like, do you feel safe with your family environment? Do you feel safe to come out at school? Do you feel like, you know, are you going to be okay and have a good support network that like the bullies that are potentially going to be there are going to be outweighed by the people protecting you and supporting you? Is the school faculty going to be cool with you? Is, you know, the workforce and the workspace you're going to be is going to be okay with you? And then the last one is don't feel like you have to educate those you come out to. It's not your job. There's a lot of people, including us, that are willing to give that information out there for free.
Yes.
And that's what we do with our podcast.
We love informing you. But it is not every identity's job to teach someone who doesn't know about it. That's where you as an ally pick up the torch and you go do your own research and you come back and you be a better ally.
That actually ties into the second half of it.
Oh,
is what to do as an ally.
Yes.
For someone that's coming out.
Segue.
The first one I put is don't assume you know, or don't even say it if you think it. Because most of the time people, like my dad at that time, it's based off of typical queer quote unquote stereotypes. And it's kind of shitty just to be like, oh, I knew. That kind of like makes you feel invalidated of like, well, if you knew, why didn't you say something? If you knew, why didn't you hint that you were a safe person
exactly
to come out to?
Yeah. That's something different. If you feel like when your friends is questioning, showing your support and making sure they know like how good of an ally you are, that's different than just being like, hey, if you are, if you're this, I'm gonna accept you. Just be like, hey, you know, the story of like, hey, take from Avenue Q, right? I sat with this guy on the subway today, and he was talking to me, and he was flirting with me, and like he was gay. You know, whatever makes you happy, you know, just like make a comment like that, being accepting to show that person, hey, it's okay to come out.
Yeah, like my dad with Bryce, he literally just been like, you know, just so you know, so he at the time, me, it's so weird to refer to my past self as he now. It's so weird. Feels disconnected a little. But anyway,
I feel
referring to past me, as basically he was a safe person to come out to.
Yeah.
Another one is don't make them feel weird or ask a ton of questions. Now you can ask questions, and it's usually what I think would be the better way to go about it is what can I and this is just the biggest one of what it probably should sound like, what can I do for you?
What can I do to support you?
Exactly. Like, do I need to help you buy some clothes? Do you want me to help you cut your hair? Do I need to refer to you as a different name or pronouns? Do I need to create a safe space for you to be yourself at home? Do I need to go with you to pride events? Do you want someone be there for you? Kind of thing. It's going to look different for each person. I'm just throwing out
I've had
ideas.
someone, the best thing that I've ever had, and if she still listens to this podcast, she'll know exactly who she is. She was like, do you want me to correct customers and coworkers about your pronouns? And I'm like, fuck yeah, please do that. I love you. Yeah, I would love to hug you right now. You're going to make me cry. Because that's the active allyship that makes you feel like it really drives home that this person really fucking cares about you.
And it's a nice feeling.
It really is.
The final thing I have for ally tips is if you do think someone is queer, educate yourself so you can be there for that person. Because sometimes, especially if you're the first person that they're coming out to, they're super confused about everything too. They're like, I figured just this part out and I don't know what the rest looks like.
That's why going back to what you said earlier, don't ask a lot of questions because that person might not know the answer either. This is just hey, this is what I know so far.
I know I'm attracted to X and that makes me Y sexuality. That's all I've gotten. So.
But yeah, I mean, perfect example. I've kind of been like that for a while. It's just hey, I think I like this. I'm not sure which label this is, but I'm comfortable just being if you want to know, just ask me and I will tell you. And it's okay not to have a label. It's okay to want to find a label. It's okay to just you be you know? And take as much time as you need too. Don't feel rushed. And I know sometimes allies want to know what they can do to help. And they want to ask those questions to figure out what they can do to help. But sometimes it inadvertently puts pressure on the person trying to figure things out. And it's just a very, it's a very slower, forward momentum process of things start to click. Things might start to, get, to the point of where the person's figuring stuff out a little bit easier. And then they'll keep you updated, Just be hey, let me know what changes.
And the biggest thing I think, if it's the first time, just be that first one. What can I do to help? And for the person coming out, it's usually grow with me. Is probably the better response. Is I don't have all the answers yet, but when I do have the answers, or when I do find something that I think you should know, I'll come to you and let you know. Because the biggest thing too is also establishing boundaries, because you will have people who are super adamant about when people come out, and then they'll become and I hate this, the quote unquote fag hag.
Yeah.
Where, it's that, hey girl, hey, kind of coming up to the gay man and being like, how's it going, queen? Dish, and be catty and everything. And I'm like, ugh. I had girls that did that when they found out I was bi, and I was like, ugh. Please, no, you're being very cringy right now, to me at least. Now, there are people who enjoy that. And I'm not saying you can't have friends that don't enjoy doing that or something like that. But what I am saying is don't do that to everybody automatically.
Have that conversation if you're okay with that. It's one thing if that's just how you are. And, if you just, coworkers, it's different. Or, people that you're close to. But don't do that to, just everybody if you haven't talked about it. Because some people can be uncomfortable with it. And, again, it can be cringy. And it can be just refrain.
because I'm going to put it this way. You don't want to be like Stan from American Dad on the episode where Greg and Terry admit they want to have a baby.
Mhm.
And in the beginning episode, they walk up to them and like, hey, there's our favorite gay neighbors. So what are you guys doing? How will you say, like, butt stuff, brunch, or parading around and just being gay? Or are you just staying home and being gay? Tissue queens. And I was like, ugh.
Good grief. Yeah, don't do that.
So, yeah. But yeah, definitely educate yourself. I
Mhm.
feel like would be for everybody. Educate yourself, whether you're the one that's coming out or the one that's being an ally or want to be an ally for those, even if you don't know anybody yet. Educate yourself as best you can. There's a myriad of books out there as of right now still. Because who knows what the government's gonna do. But anyway, there's still like books out there. There's online resources. There's amazing community like centers in the community. And if you don't live near one, find where the closest one. Google is your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting close to where the break is, so we're gonna take a quick break, probably hydrate and stuff, and then we'll be on to your next topic.
Yay!
Welcome back to another part of On This Day in History. We're looking at July 26th. Starting off at 1979, The Advocate magazine is the first magazine to mention bears in print. Bears are usually quote-unquote hunky and chunky types of men reminiscent of railroad engineers and lumberjacks. In 1985, U.S. Senators Pete Wilson, Republican of Senator of California, and Alphonse D'Amato, Republican Senator of New York, attempt to hold a briefing on AIDS for Republican senators. No one else showed up. In 1989, Studio 54 creator Steve Rubel dies of AIDS complications. And in 2017, President Donald Trump announces a policy to ban transgender personnel in the military. A lot of this is kind of reminiscent of what's going on today, and I do want to do a quick little kind of topic discussion while I am editing this episode and bringing up On This Day in History. People like the Log Cabin Party or Log Cabin Republicans, who are gay men who threw transgender people under the bus to seem more accepting of seem more accepted in the eyes of Republicans, are now feeling the sting of Republican Party. They don't care. They haven't cared. They've never cared. And with the spread of monkeypox right now, where it's being kind of pushed as a narrative of a gay disease like AIDS was, and it is contacted through droplets like sweat and spit, skin to skin contact, skin to surface contact. So yes, while they can come from sex, they can affect everybody. A lot of it is through sweat, and it is, if your hands are sweaty and touch the table, someone can get monkeypox that way. And there's a lot of scenes where, it is common to get spread through men. They are statistically higher to get it because of men like to wear their shirts. I'm not even saying gay men. I'm just saying men in general. Men like to wear their shirt like off and will hug each other, chest bump, fist bump, and they're hot and sweaty. So this is going to be affecting men more proportionally. It's like someone compared, and I can't remember who was on TikTok to give them credit. Floridians are more statistically higher chances of getting bit by a shark because of where they are and where their beaches are than someone in, say, New York State or Maine. They are less likely to get bit by a shark. There is still high chance, probability, but it's not like they can't get bitten by a shark. It's just Florida has warmer waters, sharks are there more, so Floridians are more likely to get bit by a shark. It's in that same kind of vein. But anyone can get this, this virus from monkeypox, and the fact that a lot of media outlets are saying that this is a gay disease is really pissing me off. And I did want to bring that up. As well as we do have a Patreon now. And it is live. If you support our Patreon, you get really cool behind the scenes looks. You get access to our Discord channel. You get the ability to, depending on the tier you get the ability to talk with us directly, suggest topics for the show, actually have questions we'll answer on the show and read your question out loud. And also just do really cool fan interactions with you. Super new, super, kind of still basic, but, it is out there. And I just kind of wanted to add that. We'll go back now to past us recording the second half of the podcast. And we're back. I think it's your turn, honey, for the next topic.
It is. So I had a local topic that I wanted to talk about. And I found an article from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. It was written on July the 23rd. Real quick side editorial note for somebody who went to school for this. It read almost kind of like stereo instructions trying to figure out like the police reports and shit. And I noticed that. I remember reading shit like that in the police blotter at RMU.
Yeah,
and how it reads weird.
That's police reports in general.
They read with like fucking stereo instructions. I hate it. But I've sorted things out here. So, there have been 2 LGBTQ businesses in Pittsburgh that have received bomb threats early Saturday, the 23rd, the morning of Saturday the 23rd, which was P-Town Bar in Bloomfield and Club Pittsburgh, which is a private club in the Strip District. They received similar calls shortly before 1 o'clock in the morning. And there I actually found the quote of exactly what was said to P-Town, because the owner of P-Town did an interview with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. His exact words were, "Listen carefully. There's a bomb planted in the back of the tank and toilet in stall number 2, and it will be detonated when the lid is taken off," said Mr. Alvanta, who is the co-owner of P-Town. He said on Saturday. He also received 2 calls that prior Thursday that appeared to be pre-recorded messages that contained homophobic and racial slurs. Now, apparently the way that the bathroom situation is set up at P-Town is there are 2 single-person bathrooms. The third bathroom is the only one that has a secondary toilet. So they were watching like cameras and stuff to see if anybody went in there with like a backpack or anything, because it was kind of obvious where it was going to be, right? The police searched for 30 minutes at P-Town and found nothing. Then they cleared it to be fine to be able to be reopened. And then also the same thing happened at Club Pittsburgh. They searched with the K9 unit to be safe. In front of P-Town, they shut off traffic from Baum Boulevard between Morewood and Melwood Avenues. And they also try to investigate the source of the call, where it could have came from, the trace back.
I thought they did find a device at P-Town.
They did not.
Huh.
They did not. They also searched Club Pittsburgh. They didn't find anything there either. Pittsburgh's FBI office was also aware of the threats, according to the Bureau spokeswoman, Catherine, I'm going to butcher your last name, Polishino is how I'm going to pronounce that. I apologize. P-Town opened for regular business that Saturday night. And the owner said, "It was surprising to me because in the 15 and a half years that we have been open, we have never had something like this happen before." Mr. Alavena said, "Hopefully it's a one-time thing." And I really do hope that it was just a one-off, like, this reminds me of, and I've talked about with my coworkers this before, when Trump was in office and he gave like the old wink nod to his people to be like, it's okay to go and run and do your fascist, sexist, homophobic bullshit. And it fucking scares me some still, because these weirdos are still out here. Like, just...
No, I get it. I really do. And I brought it up on Twitter and TikTok today because this one person, I can't remember their name right now, does like good morning weird history things, right? And he's like, good morning, and we'll start with weird history thing. So I did it on our a podcast TikTok, and I basically brought up the Institute for crap, I can't remember how. It's the Institute of Sexual Science. Institute for Sexual Wissenschaft. Wissenschaft.
Is it German?
Yes.
Okay. Sounded like it. There weren't enough vowels in there for it not to be.
It was a private sexology research institute in Germany from 1919 to 1933. And the reason why I stopped in 1933 is because Nazi censorship programs and youth programs started burning the books and then eventually just burnt the whole building down. So a lot of things that they were researching was STIs, how to prevent them, how to do proper contraceptives, how to create safe ways to get ectopic pregnancies out. So basically, and then they had research on like why are gay people a thing? Why are trans people a thing? Why do have some people who are effeminate and whose desires are more masculine? And they were doing research on that. And a lot of people don't realize is what's not taught about in a lot of like World War II history, and why I've been very adamant about reading it. And a lot of people think like, oh, you're just a neo-Nazi. I'm like, no, this is the worst period in our history, and I don't want to repeat it. I don't want it to repeat, And basically what I researched was that there was so much advanced queer science here, and it got censored by Nazi Germany because one of the first things they censored was any based on religion through trying to twisted Christianity, anything that was deemed sinful and immoral. What's Russia doing right now with their invasion of Ukraine? They're hunting down LGBT people. What's the United States doing? Banning abortion and LGBT people. It is literally the same fucking notes they took from the Nazi Party.
Mm-hmm.
And then after they fell, because they were the first scapegoat, then the next scapegoat comes out to the Jews, and then people of color, other religions. And it's a downward spiral from there, and that's what scares me. So that's why I researched this for so long. I had a drive to it, and now that I'm looking back now, I think that was why. It's because I did not want that horror to repeat.
Yeah, because if you don't learn from your past, it will repeat itself.
Exactly. Do you have another topic?
I do. Sorry, I kind of zoned out for a little bit.
You're good.
So this is a very important thing that's been going on recently in the government that I have been keeping an eye on. There's an article that I found on voiceofamericanews.com that was written on July the 19th. Or was it? No, it was on July 19th that this happened. I forgot to write when the article's actually published. I apologize. But on the 19th of July, the House of Representatives passed the Respect for Marriage Act 267 to 157, with 47 Republicans adding their vote to support the unanimous House Democrats. The Respect for Marriage Act would repeal the 26-year-old Defense of Marriage Act, or DOMA, which explicitly denied federal recognition of same-sex marriages. DOMA was passed into law in 1996 and defined marriage as being between one, quote, man and one, quote, woman, and made it legal for individual states to refuse and recognize the validity of same-sex marriages at the federal level. Many same-sex couples were not eligible for many of the benefits that were available to heterosexual couples, including Social Security survivor benefits, the joint filing of tax returns, and more. This was later nullified by the Supreme Court with two different decisions, the United States v. Windsor in 2013 and Obergeorgefell versus Hodges in 2015. Changes to the composition of the court, giving conservatives a strong majority in recent years, and have sparked a concern in LGBT communities about the permanence of those rulings. So basically, this is going to solidify the fact that what everybody has been worried about recently is that with the overturning of Roe v. Wade and more conservatives being there being more conservatives there, that we're going to have like questioning of interracial and gay marriage, and like it's gonna spiral, like what we're afraid of, and this is going to basically prevent that, or hope to prevent that. And I actually had a quote. I actually pulled out. There's a website which is kind of cool that I stumbled across. It's called the constitutionproject.org. And it has the United States Constitution on it in its entirety. So I have the 14th Amendment here. This is it's the first article of the 14th Amendment.
The right to privacy?
Yeah. Yes, I think that's what it's called. But it's all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction equal to protection of the law.
So basically that breaks down into if one group of people can enjoy this right,
everybody needs to be able to enjoy this right.
And the thing with the 14th Amendment on that one is Love versus Virginia was a big case and used the 14th Amendment to that. Because they were an interracial couple fighting for marriage rights, because at the time in Virginia during the Jim Crow laws, because he was a white man marrying a black woman, if he died, she would get nothing.
And it used to be that way with LGBTQ people for the longest time. But yeah, that basically, if the bill was passed, it would go to Joe Biden, who has signaled already that he's going to sign it into law if it comes onto his desk, because he was amazing working with like Obama with all of the LGBTQ laws and everything that were passed then. But it would need the backing from at least 10 Republicans to pass. So far, 5 GOP senators have said they will support the bill, and several others have said they're open to doing so.
That's right, because it only passed the House. It still has to go to the Senate.
It still has to go to the Senate, so that's where we're sitting at right now with this. And I'm really hoping that it does go through, because that would be, I'm not gonna lie, I've been stressing a little bit.
I think everybody has, Libby. Now, I will say the thing is, too, that I don't understand is a lot of the people, like, and this is the thing that, like, rhetoric makes a lot of people do things they don't think they would do and things that they don't think they would understand. There is a black Republican who voted no on it, who has a white wife. There is a Latino woman who voted no on it, who has a white husband. There is a white man, I think, who has a black wife who voted no on it. There's like at least 4 or 5 Republicans that voted no that are in interracial marriages, because they're like, I'd rather my marriage fail than like gay people have marriage, I guess.
How fucking petty do you have to fucking be?
Right?
I'm sorry, it was very loud, but Jesus Christ. Just, oh my gosh, people drive me nuts. I can't.
But yeah, I mean, it's really petty. It is so petty to basically act like you want your marriage to fail so gay people can't get married.
So petty.
Oh, it's just very telling about the fucking with the white supremacists and basically we don't want terrorists in our military. You know, whether they're foreign or domestic, we don't want that in our military. Whose military would want that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so many Republicans voted no on that. And one guy said, well, if we don't want, we kind of want white supremacists in our military, because, you know, if we take that out, who's going to enlist in the military? And I'm like, what? So as a queer trans person who was in the military, what? That makes no fucking sense. And then we had the turning point recently.
This makes my brain hurt to try to wrap it around how stupid some people can be.
Yeah. And God, we also had a turning point where like Mike Crew or something like that, who is a Republican senator who is also a church pastor, who fucking says like, oh, You ever notice how the people who are like arguing about abortions and are in favor of like abortions are women that look like a thumb? And I'm like, you're one to fucking talk. A lot of these people who you say look like a thumb are usually people who like gain a little weight from the stress from being raped.
This fucking why that has nothing to do with the argument. Now they're just
Exactly.
pulling shit out of their ass.
Exactly. And to quote George Carlin,
Oh my god.
have you ever noticed how these motherfuckers who are anti-abortion look like they're people that never wanted to give, like, who wouldn't get laid anyway?
Yeah. They're just fucking, they're just jealous. That's all it is.
Mhm.
They're not having sex and someone else is.
Like we were talking about the other day, how like Ben Shapiro admitted online he never gets his wife wet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I bring up my next topic then?
Yeah, sure.
You okay?
I think so.
Okay. Sure.
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure you're okay as a person.
I don't know.
Because that was a deep topic and that was kind of like scary stuff.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
Okay.
We need to talk about it though.
Yeah.
So
I love you.
let me see.
I'm keeping this in. I'm not editing this out. So my thing is MSOs. And what are MSOs? MSOs stands for, in the cannabis world, multi-state operators. Multi-state operators may be in some recreational states, but typically they're in majorly the medical-only states, and they have a stranglehold on these medical-only states because every time there's a business that does start up, eventually give it 2 years. They're bought out by one of these MSOs.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a point for the company we work for, Nature's Medicine that we used to go to in State College got bought out by AYR last year, a little after we left, actually.
Yeah.
So it's a good and a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
and there are good bad things that come with it. But what's been going on lately is a bunch of bad crap because they are corporations. So my thing is MSOs aren't the answer to legalization. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to be the Walmart of weed." No, you fucking don't.
No.
You're gonna sell mids or regs, basically mid-tier and low-tier fucking weed, and try making the biggest bang for your buck off that. No, fuck that. So, a lot of these companies are publicly traded in the U.S. and some in Canada, and a lot of them have seen their stock increasingly drop in price and sales since February this year, as much as some reporting up to 70%. So basically, and I'm going to pull up my phone for this one because I have the numbers saved in my phone. What happens is companies like AYR Wellness or Air Wellness, I don't know if you're supposed to spell it or just say Air, Cresco Labs, Trulieve Cannabis Corp, Jushi Holdings Inc., and Verano Holdings Corporation have lost major amounts in stock and have a stranglehold on most medical-only states, especially those on the East Coast. I'll bring it up as with the exception of Terrapin and Holistic Farms and Standard Farms, they're grow processors. They do not have dispensaries here in the state. AYR, Cresco Labs, Trulieve, and Jushi, or Cresco, AYR, Trulieve, Jushi, and Verano all have dispensaries in this state.
Mm-hmm.
And as of right now, there is no longer any mom and pop dispensaries, as far as I'm aware, in this state that sell strictly cannabis,
That is
medical grade cannabis.
upsetting as fuck.
It is, because they bought them all.
And we watched this first-handedly happen twice with our dispensaries that we go to.
And so what's going on is most of these companies support the safe banking bills that are going in different states. And what these bills basically do, and I'll quote State Bill 167, while it is a good thing, it's also a bad thing. The Safe Bill Act essentially allows banks and insurance companies to work with cannabis companies without the fear of persecution. And we talked about this previously in an older episode. Well, that's a good thing. It allows patients to have more access to payment methods, potentially using credit cards. If something happens to the building in a dispensary, especially for mom and pops, which is more what I look for, say the building catches on fire, they are going to have an easier time either getting loans or the insurance companies paying off the repairs for the building. But with companies, especially corporations, when you add insurance to that, they're going to see more dollar signs because more often than not, they're going to bank on the insurance, the accountability of loss, because it's more money to lose product or you get more money losing product than you do selling it. That's why I like places like GameStop don't care if you steal.
I literally was just thinking, fucking GameStop. They don't give a shit. Nothing. They're not going to do shit to you.
But a lot of these companies don't support home grows, because then you're basically growing your own thing. They can sell clones. Apparently, True Leaf in other states does sell clones you could buy, but are they good clones? That's debatable. But I know a lot of these companies don't support home grow, because you're not paying them for a continuous plant. If you're trying to grow your own plant and you can get this plant to grow a bunch on your own, why would you need to go to the dispensary?
Mm-hmm.
And some of these companies don't support, like Schumer's bill that's in the Senate, I think, or it got put. It's in the federal government to federally legalize, because a lot of Schumer's bill does what the SAFE Act does, but it also decriminalizes it, gets people out of jail for nonviolent cannabis charges, works to basically help people who are mom and pop basically try starting, like someone like you and me could actually start a cannabis dispensary if we wanted to, or a business or a grow or a farm.
Does that allow for like homegrow legalization then too?
I didn't see that, but I didn't do a super deep dive because reading legislation is a headache.
It really is.
And you think reading stereo instructions is bad? Try reading legislation. But what if it does add homegrow? We'll just say that, and like basically all the things that MSOs don't want, because it takes away that stranglehold they have on states like Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to read the highest paid CEOs of U.S. Marijuana MSOs. This was from MJ Biz, and I accidentally cropped out who wrote the article, but the source is from Regulatory Filings, Fred Weasley, Conversation Venture Group, MJ Biz Daily Research. So I'm going to go from smallest to highest, okay? Coming in at $6.49 million is Larry Scheifeld of Planet 13 Holdings, which has a couple dispensaries in California and most famously, they have a big one in Las Vegas. And I think they're the same group that own Mad Men, if I'm not correct, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And his partner, Robert Grossenbach, also Planet 13, at $6.5 million. Their salary is the same at $492,918. Their incentive pay is the same at $492,000. Their stock is the same at $5,472,785, and then they have other payments. It's probably people paying them, right? Mm-hmm. Number 4 is Kim Rivers of True Leaf Cannabis, which I tweeted back and forth with, and because I'm kind of pissed off at them, especially with the whole paying cops crap. She has $8.05 million. Her salary is $500,000 a year, but her incentive pay is $1,280,000. Her worth in stock is $1,399,000. Basically, short, it's like $8 shy of $1,400,000.
Fucking ridiculous.
She also has options listed as $2,354,938, other at $2,519,551. Then you have third, which is James Casiopo from Jushi Holdings at $9.87 million, who has a $487,132 yearly salary, but his stock worth is, or his bonus, his yearly bonus is $2,124,000, and his options is $7,260,000. He has no stock, no other options, no incentive pay. Followed by number 2 is $15.96 million worth of Abner Curtin at Send Wellness, yearly salary of $851,827 with a $350,000 yearly bonus for a $1 million incentive plan with $13,750,000 worth of stock, and $8,173 is listed as other. Number 1 is George Arcos of Verano Holdings at $16.03 million. It's a $367,694 salary, the lowest on the list, but is a $200,000 yearly bonus. His amount in the stock of the company that he owns is worth $15,342,890. His options, which is, I don't understand fully what options is for them, but it's $123,524, and other is listed as $14. The thing that pisses me off the most about these companies is all of them are laying people off everywhere.
That's a lot of dusty corporate weed.
They are, exactly. They're selling, they're the only options. Well, some of these companies, grow processors like Cresco. I do like Cresco stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like Jushi's stuff because Jushi owns the bank, and the bank sucks.
The bank's not the best.
But they own Beyond Hello, which is super LGBT friendly, and I'm like, is it actually LGBT friendly or is it a front?
Yeah, because GTI Rhythm is actually LGBTQ friendly. They have so much shit that they do for people, like.
And I've heard the same thing about Beyond Hello, but I haven't actually gone to experience it yet.
Yeah.
But then you literally all these companies, everywhere I've seen on Twitter, on Reddit, on Instagram, they've been laying off waves of employees. Some companies are setting up company-wide hiring freezes. They're forcing dispensaries to work understaffed and underpaid. But they're recording record profits, and they're lining their pockets with money because they rather, with the stock loss, they're going to recoup what they've lost by taking it out of the employees' pockets. So they're going to, a couple of examples, fire guards, because I've seen waves across, Pittsburgh area that they are leaving. We're going to see people get promoted, but their lower positions aren't getting filled in. Or, you're going to lose management team, and basically it's just going to be one general manager. I've seen that in the food industry. As an example, you're going to see, basically less bud tenders, less cannabis advisors, and they're going to have to be short-staffed working basically 2 or 3 people's jobs. It's following the food industry's example.
This sounds like GameStop.
It does. It sounds like GameStop. And the thing is, I'm afraid they're going to follow Amazon's example, and Amazon's about to run out of their workforce here soon.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's basically following Amazon's example, and just we're going to run out of our workforce because they're just basically going to be either force us to stay in it and help us pay, or they're going to actually treat their employees correctly, but they're going to overwork them. And it's going to be hard. It's just going to be horrible because they're following retail and food industry is what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. MSOs are not the answer. And unfortunately, because we don't have those legacy market that started a lot of this stuff and kind of grew with California becoming legal, we don't have that over here.
No.
Because we never really had it. So what's the answer? The answer is we need to support small cannabis companies and pressure our states to make it easier for mom and pop shops to open up, to make it easier for them to get licenses, for them to be easier to make grow facilities, to get people who are using and supporting cannabis since before medical was legal in the state and or in the area, bring people from California and Colorado over here and help set up facilities, and like good people like the Honey Bee Collective who uses all natural sun-grown cannabis, and all the money they go to helps raise a bee farm and like does a lot of good environmental impact stuff and make them the faces of weed. Because like I'm not gonna lie, I really like the Honeybee Collective, and I've been begging them to come out here because their cans, they have a recyclement. They have a recycling initiative, and all their cans are recyclable. So we're not spending so much plastic into the ground.
Pennsylvania has a weird thing with that. With the way that Pennsylvania is set up with their medical cannabis, that's considered medical waste that needs to be taken care of without like hazardous material
Exactly,
protocols.
but I feel like since they've gotten so big in Colorado that they can be a push for us to change some of that stuff.
We really do need to change it.
So that's all I have on this episode. Do you have any other topics, honey? I know it's getting late for you.
Yeah, it's getting late. I'm good. This was a nice episode.
It was. It's a little longer, but you know, I'm not too bent out of shape about it.
I will save this last topic I have for the next episode. Gives
Cool.
everybody something to look forward to too.
Well, I guess we should sign off. Once again, my name is Rayven. I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Alex. I use they, them pronouns.
And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.